Good morning, good evening, good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. I am Tim, back once again for the Speed Force Racing GP2 Series Imola Grand Prix. And with me is my co-commentator. You know, he might even be my normal co-commentator this season, Tom. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good, mate. It's good to be back in the Comsocks with you again. But yeah, how are you?
Oh, I am doing just fine, ready to see some action-packed racing from the GP2 series. Of course, last week in Australia was a nail-biter as well. MDJ, Train Game, and Mansell, of course, your top three out of that race. And, you know, just a quick little recap, it came down to time penalties, but Mansell was nowhere near that third position on the last lap. It was solely time penalties and a late race spin by someone further up the standings than Mansell that saw him sort of back into that P3. But all the same, it has helped Mansell in the driver's standings. It moves him up to second. So 31 points for Mansell in P2 to MDJ's 50 in P1. And then King David in third with 25 points. But very interesting stuff from Australia. It was insane. And you and I, we were watching some of the race earlier and just noticing a few, different moments from it. And we realized that there was so much happening at that race that we just could not possibly follow all the action. And that really is a shame. I wish we had a multi-camera broadcast. Sadly, we do not have that.
Yeah, it sucks because I think the fascinating, but at the same time, the fascinating thing as a co-com is that they tend to sometimes see moments when the broadcaster can't. So as we just watched Para go on track, but yeah, it's a unique one because obviously the only glimpse of view that the audience gets to see is in fact through the main com and the streamer, whereas the co-com, I think, because he's not streaming, because they're not streaming, they tend to look at battles that aren't really being broadcast and keep an eye on what goes on there. And again, like I mentioned, they sometimes tend to find moments that the host can't.
Yeah, but that's also why doing this job solo just makes it that much more difficult. And you and I, we have both done it solo, so it's always good to have a second man up here in the booth just to help us out. And also, just from a commentator's perspective, it's good to have these, two people to bounce off of one another. But just watching Just Para out on track as he's about to start his flying lap. A few track facts for you today. 4.9 kilometers is the distance here at Imola. The first race, of course, on the real-life Formula One calendar was held in 1980. But if we turn to our Speed Force Racing calendar, the first time was in Season 9. The winner of that race, Timo. Season 10, son of Fubar. And a big thank you to some dude I know named Tom for those little facts there.
You're welcome. But yeah, Imola is a track. To me, it feels like a fast-paced Hungary because, there's only one proper overtaking opportunity, and that's the DRS straight. This is basically the start-finish straight, but it's not a hard circuit to master, but at the same time, it's not easy to get right on a consistent basis. Let's just put it at that.
Yeah, it in my personal experience, it was a track that, as far as driving, I actually found it quite fun. But like you said, Tom, it's really not easy to pass. There's that one DRS zone that is going to aid you, and beyond that, you have just got to kind of chomp at the bit and take what you can get. And you know better than I do that without the DRS, passing is few and far between, simply because these cars, for whatever reason, do have trouble overtaking other drivers. As you saw Die there, he's having trouble staying in the track limits. Die and Just Para, those drivers have invalidated. But as you said, Tom Ginetti, P1 at the moment with a 116.396.
Johnny up into P2 as well. Teammates from season 9 and 10 from the Worldwide Celebration is GP3 reunited.
So they have made the move up to GP2, and so far looking good for Imola. Taking a look now at the AlphaTauri of Bossy Gaming. So we'll see what he is able to do on his first flying lap.
Graphics man.
Oh yeah, the Speed Force Racing graphics man actually is Bossy Gaming, and also the official. I just gotta say it. I always gotta make the cat joke every single time with him.
Yeah.
But I can't actually think of an official title for him that would relate to a cat. So I'm just gonna move on. But Bossy Gaming P3 of 116.753.
Very good lap for Bossy. Calvin up into P4. Kexi in P6. PSI Legends, who was on pole last week, in P6, but has just invalidated, so he might be on an in-lap anyway. Yeah, he's on an in-lap.
And here is our defending champion of Train Game going a little bit wide. Does not invalidate, but this will not be the fast time that he's looking for. Train Game, well, of course, so far, so good on his lap, except for going wide, though. And I'm very surprised he did invalidate, because we've actually seen a driver, I believe it was Die in the Ferrari, who invalidated in that same corner. So that really goes to show you how finicky the track limits can be.
Definitely. Here comes Train Game. That was a very good lap, to be fair. I mean, barely ahead of Bossy, but I think earlier from him going wide, that was a very impressive lap by our champion.
And Tom, I believe that we are now experiencing some audio issues on your part. So
I was gonna
hey, now you're back. Now you're back. So it's almost like you put a bowl on your head and then you didn't put a bowl on your head.
Oh, nice analogy.
So taking a look at Mansell in the Williams. Of course, Tom, I know that you are quite partial to the Williams car. Your P3 podium sitter from last week, and also second in the points at the moment. Little bit of a different perspective commentating on Mansell this season, because for the majority of last season he joined me here in the GP2 comms booth, but now we see him out there racing and going to P3 in qualifying of 116.720.
Look at how close it is from provisional pole to about P6.
And it truly is amazing.
It is. Oh wow.
Nor loser, a 116.028.
What a
so
lap.
Maybe not as close as it was about a minute ago, but all the same, very close lap times.
Look. It looks like a traffic jam coming out of the pits.
Trying to find a driver who is on a flying lap, but we really don't have anyone that's on a lap at the moment.
No,
Just
we
have
don't.
to wait.
The closest we've got, I sense in the force, is... No, not King David. Just... Oh, Para.
Yeah, and Just Para, he's actually going to be looking for a little bit of redemption. He has not yet set a flying lap, as you can see, because even though he was the first driver out on track, he invalidated. So you've got to keep it within those track limits.
Full DRS to his advantage.
For a minute, I thought he was going to be able to get some slipstream off of his teammate. However, he ran out of straightaway.
Oh, he goes very wide.
But now he's slow. He's moving over to let his teammate go. But his teammate's on an outlap, though, as well. I don't understand. Yeah, you might be right. So here's what we'll do. We'll just follow these two Alpine cars. We'll keep an eye on them. We'll see just what their tactics are, because you've got to admit, where he's had some issues, Just Para certainly is a fast driver. And King David, the results speak for themselves. P3 right now in the driver standings. these two Alpine drivers, they are looking very good. Not to mention that Alpine is second in the constructor standings, only 2 points behind AlphaTauri.
Wow. I think they are a very organised outfit. I mean, it's hard to tell if they. We don't factually know if they end up if they communicate with each other in parties during a race, but Alpine right now they look very organised.
One thing I've just noticed, though, is Just Para. He actually has chimed in. He's told us that this is going to be his first race without ABS, so that could explain some of the issues that he's having in qualifying.
Yes.
But we've seen that happen before, Tom, in Speed Force Racing, to where a driver will enter a race and they'll turn an assist off, or they'll make a change. Oh, and Just Para, he does invalidate the lap again, so maybe this doesn't hold true for him.
No.
But we have seen it in the past to where drivers have made a change to their driving style or to their setup. Maybe they went from controller to a wheel, or they got a rig instead of, racing off of a desk, whatever the change may be. But what is perceived to be a big change, and rightfully so, is we've seen drivers overcome.
Definitely. It's moving over to turning off an assist, whether it be ABS or traction control. It's no easy feat, and it does take 2 or 3 weeks to adjust. And I think if there was a track like in your spare time, if there was a track that I'd recommend practicing without it, it would be Monza, because it is a good track to practice on. But you just gotta go along with what you're comfortable with, aren't you?
Yeah,
it's King David goes up into P3.
Yeah, so King David showing some strength. Just over 7 minutes remaining in the qualifying session, so this is when we're going to start to see more drivers set some lap times in, pull back into the pits, and then come back out trying to get that fast lap just one more time. Train Game Wow, though, so far looking really good on his lap, 7/10 quicker. So let's see what our defending champion can do as he is in the third and final sector of this race course.
Oh, nearly 8 tenths up, actually, as he approaches the final corner. Full GRS to his advantage. What time is he going to set?
116 flat.
No way.
Train Game to the pole. 116 flat, at least to the 1,000th of a second.
Oh, and bear in mind, we have a sprint race. So these drivers are going to have to spare their tires accordingly, or choose their tires accordingly, depending on what happens in the sprint. But
so the AlphaTauri of Bossy Gaming in a P10, his best lap time of 116.753. Just seeing if he can improve anymore. So far, with just over 5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session, Train Game Wow, Nor Loser, Janny, your top 3, with King David and Janeji, your top 5, Calvin, Rage, Mansell, PSI Legends, and Bossy Gaming, the remainder of the top 10. Still waiting to see if anyone can knock that 116 flat down.
It's going to be very difficult. Not impossible, because it is. I mean, if someone puts on an absolutely fantastic on a GP1 level lap, but it's very difficult. Simple as that. But so, Bossy not only invalidates, but he spins.
So unfortunate for Bossy there, and he's just having a big struggle there. So PSI Legends in P9, he's on his outlap. We'll see if maybe he can match the pace of his teammate Nor Loser. Remember, Nor Loser, the first driver to break into the 116.0s here. Of course, that was overshadowed a bit by Train Game's lap, and it's really, Train Game wasn't that much faster than Nor Loser. It's just the fact that we weren't really expecting another driver to break into the O so quickly, and yet Train Game did. Let's see if PSI Legends can match his teammate's pace. So we're just looking here after PSI Legends. We'll go ahead and take a look at KXI in the Red Bull. We haven't really give KXI enough love today.
No. No, as it gets his second lap underway now. Using quite a bit of that battery, obviously, because you're meant to be on hot lap as goes on to 5th gear.
Here's a bit of an onboard view from PSI Legends. That beautiful blue and purple helmet. I love watching the onboard view. You can really pay attention to the driver's driving style and how smooth they have to be through the corners, but also you get a bit of a glimpse on how high they may have their force feedback turned up, if of course they are on a wheel, because you can just pay attention to the wheel movements, and if you're familiar with the hardware, you'll understand that the more force feedback that you have turned up, it's just going to look like the wheel is not moving as smooth as it should, because you're hitting every single bump and you can just feel it in that wheel. That's especially true for the wheel that I have, the G29, but PSI Legend's not happy with the lap. Looks like he actually invalidated, so he's pulling into the pits.
Ooh. Oh, KXI invalidates as well.
So now we only got one driver, the Slayer, on a lap right now, if we can get to him.
The only one yet to set a lap as well, by the way. Wait, he's not even using his battery?
Well, we'll see what kind of lap time he can set without it.
It might be a bank lap, if anything.
Out of the final corner this time. And then down the straightaway, let's see what the Slayer does. Well, he bypasses the pits. I thought for a minute he was going to tease us and dive down into the pits, but he doesn't. Crosses the line. Where does he go? 118.5. So you are right, Tom. That is a banker.
I thought that was the Alpine coming across, but yeah.
So now the question is the Slayer going for another lap? And I think he is. He's really booking it here. So the Slayer is going to try to get another qualifying lap down. That 118 is not going to satisfy him, and, well, can't quite say I blame him.
No.
But looks like we actually have a late entry, and this is a name I have not heard in quite a while. Tom, did you see that? Sonicon.
Oh, yes. What a legend. What a guy.
Sonicon.
SFR's boss man. The boss man of SFR.
Exactly, the boss man of SFR, and so now he's here. Keeping an eye on all of us, making sure that we mind our P's and Q's, or keep all the front wings on. I was gonna make a joke about keeping all the lug nuts on the wheels, but that's a NASCAR joke that doesn't even apply anymore because they went to single lugs.
Yeah.
So never mind. I can't make my
train
joke.
Game.
Meanwhile, the Slayer,
P14.
only a small improvement there. So now let's watch Train Game Wow. He is definitely going to be the driver that we're going to keep our eyes on. 116 flat, and you got to think just 1,000th of a second quicker.
Up.
7/10 up
what we saw.
Off of a 116
no,
flat.
we're not. I lied.
Oh, okay. Well, now he's a 10th down. But see, that's the thing, though. He's a 10th down. He is close, though, Tom. He can at least match or best this lap here. He's going to have a really good second and third sector, though.
Oh, Power's retired. Let's see, either in the pits. Yeah, it's in the pits.
Meanwhile, let's see where Train Game Wow is. He is still a 10th down in the second sector, so unless he can find a 10th in this third sector, it's just not going to be enough.
Bit of a dodgy exit on the chicane, but no invalidation. He gets the car fine.
Train Game really is pushing. He's using every bit of racetrack that he can, but I don't think it's going to work for him. Yeah, he dives down.
No, I don't think there was anything he could do in that car.
No. Like, he was a 10th slower out of the first sector, and you're thinking, okay, he might be able to make it up. And then he was a 10th slower out of the second sector. And by that time, if you're not making any significant gains after that, then obviously it's probably just best to abandon that lap because...
Gavin in P6.
So a good showing from Calvin there. King David in P5, but of course it looks like he's already set his lap. Now qualifying is officially over, so I do believe that what you see is what you're going to get. Save for maybe Rage Hunter, who is on a lap.
I was just about to say, it isn't over because Rage Hunter and Norloser are both on laps.
So Norloser P2 at 116.0, Rage Hunter P10 at 116.6. Let's see what Rage Hunter can do in the final sector here. He's got a little bit of a slipstream off of another car ahead of him. That might actually be Norloser.
Yeah, it is.
So
that's an Alpine coming in. Oh, Norloser dives his way into the pits.
But Rage Hunter goes to the pole at 115.996. Wow.
That's insane.
4 thousandths of a second quicker than Train Game Wow.
This potentially sets the tone for the sprint race as well.
Yeah, so Rage Hunter, Train Game Wow, Norloser looks like it's going to be your top 3. So congratulations to Rage Hunter on his pole today. And your official starting lineup: Rage Hunter in first, Train Game Wow in second, Norloser in third, Just Para in fourth, Janny in fifth, sixth is King David, Calvin in seventh, Janeji in eighth, ninth is Mansell, Die in 10th, PSI Legends in 11th, 12th is Bossy, KXI in 13th, 14th is The Slayer, Maddie in 15th, 16th is Sonicock. He was not able to set a lap time, so he'll be going from the back to the front. And so now, of course, it is time for a little bit of real life F1 news for you. And it's been a really big day in the world of Formula One. As some of you may have already heard, it was officially announced by both Daniel Ricciardo and McLaren today that Daniel Ricciardo will not be returning to the team in the 2023 season. He will finish out the season for 2022 with McLaren, and he is still searching for a drive elsewhere. A replacement has not been announced. Of course, rumor is that it is Piastri, but of course, time will tell. So unfortunately, Ricciardo out at McLaren, but that is your big F1 news for the day. And it's sort of a rumor that has been floating around for a while that may not catch anyone as too much of a surprise, but all the same, you've got to feel for Daniel Ricciardo, who's just been, trying his best really to get good results with McLaren and was able to pick up a win at Monza, but beyond that, has had some lackluster results.
Sorry about that. Anyway, I think this is the sprint race. Tim?
Yes, I am here.
Thank God. I thought you can hear me, but anyway. 30 seconds till the race starts. Or formation up anyway.
So now it is time for our top 3 predictions, though, for the Grand Prix. And I kind of feel like Train Game and Rage Hunter have to have a spot at that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But third is a difficult one, though.
So we'll see how this goes here. Of course, we will have our formation lap, and as as Tom has said, we have a sprint race, then a normal Grand Prix. So much like the real-life F1 calendar.
Yeah, we do. These drivers, obviously... Oh, hold on. No. Interestingly, Die, the only one taking the gamble to go softs.
So here's your tire information, and as Tom mentioned, Die in P10. So last week we saw the soft tire really not make a lot of significant gains unless you were in first. That clean air really helped, and you could just sail away. But if you were stuck in traffic, that soft tire just did not give you the advantage that you really needed. So I'm wondering if maybe we're going to see a little bit of a different story here around Imola. Not sure if it's the same tire compound that was used in Australia or not, though.
Yeah, that is true.
So just a quick recap of your starting lineup. Rage Hunter, Train Game, Wow, Norloser your top 3, Just Para and Jenny your top 5. Now remember, this is the sprint race, so this will set the starting order for the actual Grand Prix. Just waiting for the drivers to find their appropriate positions on the front straightaway. And Tom, are you having issues with your audio?
No, fine.
Because
no, I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Everything was very quiet there for a moment. I was waiting on. I thought you left me.
I haven't. Oh, shoot. Someone's jumped their start line. But yeah, sprint race, it's going to be crucial because you might be... because if you end up... and you have to race smarter because if you end up crashing out, you're going to be at a big disadvantage for the race.
And we will see who is the winner of the sprint race as the lights are out, and we are green. Rage Hunter, Train Game, Wow, Norloser your top 3 at the moment, and Train Game, Wow getting out to a nice and early lead.
Norloser.
Rage Hunter in P2, Jenny in P3, but now, who is that muscling their way around the Aston Martin? It's King David side by side with Jenny, trying to take the 3rd place away from him.
Yeah, very good start from Johnny and King David, but
and we are actually having some audio issues.
No, my headset was connected to my controller, so I had to be careful with that. But anyway, it was a bad start by Norloser, who went from what? Hold on, let me look. He went from 3rd to 5th in just a few corners before we even reached turn 1.
Yeah, so Norloser in P5 there, and already making his way up through the pack, right on the back of King David, and King David right on the back of Janny. This is the battle for 3rd position. Train Game Out, Rage Hunter, they have pretty much found a land of their own, 1.3 seconds ahead of this battle.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that was the best possible start for Rage and Train Game, because Train Game just set the fastest lap, obviously, as you normally expect when you're the first to cross the line. But I did notice Dai overshooting the penultimate corner, and it's such and the thing is, it's such a hard corner to get right, because if you end up overdoing it slightly, next thing you know, you're going to be off in that gravel trap.
Yeah, and you know that.
Oh no, Rage!
Speaking of off in the gravel trap, we got someone off in the grass. That is Rage Hunter. So not sure what happened there, but looks like he might have just lost it on his own. Taking a look at the car to see if there's any damage. Not that I can tell, but probably a lot of damage to Rage Hunter's pride. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's not going to do. That's not going to help him at all. I don't know how that happened, but if he had lost it coming out of the second to last corner coming out of that hairpin at the end of sector 1, then it's another example of how quick these cars are to just randomly spin out.
So King David's at the fastest lap now at 1:17.9. Will rejoin the battle for the lead. So King David making his way into the 2nd position. Yeah. Janny 0.7 of a second behind him. Train Game Wow still 1.9 seconds ahead. But you know what, though? As we ride on board with the Alpine, you can see Train Game ahead. So someone's
off.
And it looks like that was Matty.
And Sonic Hawk, too.
Oh, and that is a shame for Sonic Hawk.
It is. It is. I was looking forward to seeing him today as well. I mean, mind you, we're still going to see him, but yeah, that was a shame for him.
So you mentioned that Dye starting on those soft tires. Well, he's already in P6. So
he is.
Making his way up from 10th to 6th place.
Very good start from Dye, to be fair, but we have to remember these softs have to go all the way to the end. Like, well, I mean, these softs are not going to last longer out there because tyre wear. Imola has always been one of those tracks where the tyre wear is just crucial. So you have to. So he has to. So as the later the race drags on, the more he's going to have to be so conservative of just keeping that car on not only keeping that car on the track, but looking after his tyres. Because if he ends up overdriving that car, then he'll be exposed by people from behind.
So still watching this battle with Dye. Janeji behind him, though, really getting closer to the Ferrari. So we'll watch Janeji. Of course, we saw he had some decent speed in qualifying early on. Ultimately did not walk away with the pole position like we originally thought that he would. But still showing some strong form here at Imola. Although we are going to have to actually rejoin this battle for the lead because King David, he is actually cutting into Train Game Wow's lead. He was briefly within DRS range.
Bossy 3 seconds.
Yeah, and Bossy, his bad day continues.
Yeah, not a great one for Bossy, but...
So King David, out of the final corner, he should have DRS this time, or should have it if he was within the 1 second mark. He was briefly, but not during the detection zone, so that really is the kicker there, of course, as you can see. My apologies, he did have the DRS. You saw that rear wing close. So he was within 1 second at the detection zone, but you got to think just how much battery was Train Game Wow using down that straightaway to not only stay ahead, but keep ahead and even increase his gap to King David. So let's take a look at Norloser, P3, as we ride on board with him.
What's up ahead? But yeah, it's an interesting one because... Oops, shoot, sorry, didn't mean to press my DS button. But anyway, it's an interesting one because Train Game is doing a good job of maintaining his gap, whilst... Actually, I say that, but I actually think King David might be in a tricky position here because Norloser is actually doing so well with keeping with that train ahead that it could potentially get to the point where David is going to be in a massive pickle, thinking to the point where he'd probably be thinking, is it worth attacking Train Game if I've got Norloser close up behind me? You never know.
Well, I cannot be the one to answer that question, but I can tell you that this briefly brought Janny into the picture as we saw him slowly actually making gains on Norloser, but now you see these three cars actually pulling away from Janny. So just to give him a little bit of love, there is the Aston Martin in P4, but you see the gap is increasing. It was briefly down to, I believe, 1.7-ish seconds, and then increased back to 2. So Janny seems pretty strong in that third and final sector, but first and second sector of the race course, these three drivers ahead have got him beat.
Okay, damn right. Look at that helicopter view. But, PSI 3 seconds.
So lap 6 of 11, pretty much halfway through this sprint race. And there's speculation that the soft tires, they're not going to last. So I guess we're going to have to find out because we were talking about Dye early on. Still have to stick with this battle for the lead. But Dye, He's only in P6. That's as best as he's been able to do so far. Might actually be seeing a move made on Calvin going into turn 1, as he is right on the back of that Haas car. Goes
down the inside.
Pushes him a bit wide. There was some contact.
Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, and Calvin lost out massively there, and now he finds himself in a bit of a wedge between just Para and Janeji.
And now Slur's gone off as well. Sorry to interrupt, but...
So the Slayer not having a good day, of course, as we saw, not able to have a good qualifying run, and now he is off in the sprint race. Driving for the Alfa Romeo team. Of course, looks like he's the only Alfa Romeo driver in the race today, so he will be their sole chance at scoring points.
Absolutely, mate. What were we thinking of?
Tom, I'm thinking that it's lap 7 of 11.
I know.
And that the battle for the lead's starting to heat up.
Oh, it is. Yeah, good spot. Now. I'm going to take a look at the racetrack.
King David trying to gain on Train Game Wow. And he really
did. No warning for Train Game.
He had the DRS there, but if you notice, everything that he gained, he lost out of the first 2-3 corners.
Wow. That's crazy. But yeah, King David Train Game got no penalties. Nor loser, 2 warnings. So he is at a little bit of a disadvantage here. Not too much of a disadvantage, but he has to be very careful with how he... with where he gains time.
So lap 8 of 11 now, and you know, I do have to admit that this sprint race, the purpose of the sprint race is
Johnny spun.
So Johnny, he was in P4, down to P9 now. Here he is in the Aston Martin, trying to hang on to really any top 10 position at this moment. There's a little bit of a wiggle there from him again, so perhaps his day just still not working out. He's struggling, really struggling. There you see him still wiggling the car, but I think maybe the tires have cooled down a little bit, so should not be struggling for grip as much. Well, there was another wiggle.
Wow.
So yeah, and you see the Red Bull of KXI really gaining on him. So yeah, Johnny, he's just going to have to hang on till the end of this race.
Side by side. KXI completes the move.
Meanwhile, King David making a move for the lead on Train Game Wow, side by side. King David trying to get on the outside.
Ooh.
Can't do it. Train Game Wow pushes him wide, but they both stay on track.
It looks like contact as well. Not much, but...
definite contact indeed, Tom. And Train Game Wow was able to clear King David, but only just. King David back on the offensive and going to try to find a way around this McLaren. This brings Nor Loser into the picture, though.
Oh, it does.
3 cars battling for the lead.
Look at this. Looks like they're trying to shake each other off as... Oh, lot of curb. Train Game getting a much better exit out of that, and now King David is going to be under so much pressure from Nor Loser behind.
On board with Nor Loser now, out of the final corner, coming to 2 laps to go in the sprint race. Train Game Wow, King David, and Nor Loser, your top 3 nose to tail in the DRS zone. 2 laps to go at Imola.
It's not even the full race, but this is such a nail-biting watch. Like, look at how close it is between the top 3.
What it really surprises me is they will race like this for the sprint race, but then you get into the Grand Prix, and the leader walks away and has like a 3-second lead the whole time.
Oh, there's a Red Bull round that looks to be KXI.
So yeah, it is KXI. He is very slow, as you can tell, but we'll have to go back to the battle for the lead. King David still on the back of the McLaren. They put a little bit of distance between Nor Loser than they had the lap prior, but Nor Loser still very much within striking distance. The problem is it is a bit of a DRS train here with these 3 cars, and Train Game leading the pack makes him a bit of a sitting duck.
Train Game is so good out of that chicane. Like, I've noticed this he's done it last lap, but he literally got such a good exit out of that chicane. And it almost looks as though, although King David is gaining time in other corners, but in that chicane, he has no chance of getting in range of Train Game at all.
That is a very good observation, Tom. And one thing I've noticed just in general is that Train Game seems to be better on corner exit than King David. You know, we mentioned that a few laps ago, King David gained a lot on Train Game with DRS, but then out of corner exit...
Oh no! Dye's got off. And he spun!
So the Ferrari of Dye, he is off, but the battle that we are watching is the battle for the lead. King David and Train Game, wow, your top two, and then Norloser in P3. But it's looking like at the moment there's not going to be a lot of opportunities for a move. Here comes that chicane that, Tom, you rightfully said Train Game, wow, is so strong out of. Let's see if he gets a good exit out of it this time. And so far, so good, actually, although King David was a little bit closer. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Remember, this is only the sprint race, but it looks like Train Game Wow is going to have the prime advantage for track position when the Grand Prix starts. Out of the final corner, King David can do nothing to get by the McLaren. It's going to be Train Game Wow taking the checkered flag for the sprint race.
Good race. Good stuff by Train Game. Very good between the top three, actually. Like, it was all clean. Like, it was all... Although it was a bit elbows out between... King David and Train Game, but yeah, very good watch. And I think this potentially sets the tone for this race as well.
It definitely gives us an idea of who we need to be looking out for. So Train Game, of course, there's no doubt about it. We needed to be watching for him. He was the second driver to get into the 1:16 O's in qualifying, and he just barely missed out on that pole time. And then King David, he's third in the points, so that the results, like, you know, they speak for themselves. So Train Game Wow, defending champion, King David having a good points run so far, and then Norloser, who just shows up, and you can see that he does have some speed. He's got some pace, especially today in you know, at Imola. So Norloser perhaps a bit of a dark horse today. But that's only in your top three. But it looks like your official starting order for the Grand Prix is going to be Train Game Wow in first, King David in second, third is Norloser with Janeji in fourth, fifth is Calvin, Justpera in sixth, seventh is Janny, Rage Hunter in eighth, ninth is PSI Legends, Bossy Gaming in 10th, then Dye in 11th, 12th is KXI, 13th is Maddie Mansell in 14th, then 15th is the Slayer with Sonicock in the 16th position. Well, Tom, I would say we need to get our top three predictions in before the race, but yeah. I think it's kind of cheating now.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. Like, bearing in mind, we only had 11 laps of the sprint race, so as far as I'm aware, I could see it getting... It's calm before the storm, really.
Well, speaking of storm, we heard that there could be some rain at the end of the sprint race. Now, obviously, that did not happen, but if you take a look at the sky, it's looking a little bit cloudy. Not sure if we've got a weather report or not, but interestingly enough...
Good point. It's very cloudy, but the question is it going to rain for the race?
Well, waiting to see if we're going to be able to get a weather report, but I don't think that it's going to happen.
No, we're not.
So now we just have to wait out the 10-second timer. We can start our formation lap, and then we will be ready for the race.
Oh, shit. I didn't check. Oh, sorry, I didn't check